The bank was unusually crowded that afternoon, lines stretching across the polished marble floor, people murmuring impatiently, screens blinking with numbers that never seemed to move fast enough. But amidst the noise, a sudden silence rippled through the hall like a cold gust of wind. All eyes had shifted toward the far left counter, where a thin, trembling 12-year-old black girl stood, clutching a worn-out cloth bag to her chest. Her name, though no one bothered to ask, was Amara. She was small, dust on her shoes, curls uncombed, and clothes faded as if life had wrung every ounce of color from them. She stood there with a quiet bravery that didn't match her appearance, her voice barely audible as she repeated, "Please, I just want to see my balance." Her words were simple, gentle, almost apologetic, but the man standing behind the counter, he reacted as if she had committed a crime. The bank manager, Mr. Fletcher, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a permanently wrinkled forehead and an ego far larger than the job required, leaned forward. The gold badge clipped to his suit reflected the overhead lights. His lips curled into a smirk, a cruel, taunting smirk that told everyone he enjoyed moments like this. And then he laughed, loudly, mockingly, so sharply that even the security guard flinched. "Your balance," he repeated, choking on his own amusement. "Little girl, this is a bank, not a charity counter." Amara swallowed hard. Her fingers tightened around her little bag. She whispered, "Sir, it's important. My mom said." "Your mom," he cut her off, scoffing. "What, did she find $1 on the street and send you here to see if it magically multiplied? Do you even have an account?" He didn't wait for her answer. He didn't care. The people standing around watched, shifting uncomfortably, but no one stepped forward. Some stared. Some looked away. Some shook their heads as if the sight of a poor child asking a simple question was somehow inconvenient. Amara's eyes glistened, but she held back her tears. She lifted the old bag slowly and placed it on the counter. The bag made a faint metallic clink. The manager raised an eyebrow, annoyed. "What's that now?" Amara opened the bag carefully. Inside were a few crumpled papers, a tiny notebook with childish handwriting, and a small envelope sealed with tape, the kind people used when they wanted something protected but couldn't afford anything better. She held out the envelope. Her voice wavered. "Sir, my mother said this bank has been saving money for me since I was born. She told me to check it today." The manager barked out another laugh. "Sweetheart, your mother lied. People like you don't have bank accounts." "This," he pointed at the envelope, "is probably a church donation or some neighbor's pocket change. Don't waste our time." The bank lobby erupted in small chuckles. Someone murmured, "Poor kid, she doesn't know how things work." Another said, "Where's her guardian? She shouldn't be here alone." Amara lowered her eyes, cheeks burning with humiliation. Her hope, tiny and flickering, looked like it was about to die completely. Still, she whispered, "Please, can you just check?" Mr. Fletcher snatched the envelope from her hand, more to show dominance than to help. He opened it roughly, pulling out a single folded sheet of paper, something like a bank slip. He scanned it once, then twice. The laughter died in his throat. His smirk faded. His brows tightened as his eyes darted across the paper again, as if trying to understand something impossible. He typed something into his computer. His fingers froze. He typed again, faster, more aggressively. Then he stopped. His face drained of color. The hum of the bank returned to his ears, loud and suffocating. His chest rose and fell sharply. His eyes flicked toward the girl, suddenly uncertain, suddenly fearful. Murmurs started again. Someone whispered, "What is he looking at?" Another said, "His expression changed." Mr. Fletcher swallowed. For the first time, his voice cracked. "Where did you get this?" Amara blinked, confused and frightened. "My mother, she told me to come today. She said everything would change." His breathing grew shallow. The numbers on the screen in front of him, they couldn't be real, could they? A little girl from a slum neighborhood asking to see her balance, and that balance being no. No, this had to be a mistake, a glitch, a joke. His eyes widened, his hand trembled. Then he looked up at her, really looked at her for the first time. And right then, before he could speak another word, a voice from the crowd said, "Step away from her." Everyone turned. A tall stranger, dressed in crisp, expensive clothing, stood behind the crowd. Their presence was calm yet commanding, like someone who didn't raise their voice often, but when they did, the world listened. Mr. Fletcher stiffened. The stranger took a step forward, eyes locked on the frightened little girl, expression unreadable. But the cruel manager had no idea that this stranger knew a secret about Amara that would shake the entire bank. A secret that would flip the manager's world upside down. A secret that would change this little girl's entire life. A secret that would make every laughing bystander regret their silence. Because in the next few minutes, everyone in that bank was about to witness something unbelievable, something unforgettable. something life-changing. But before we get to that shocking moment, before the twist that will leave the manager begging for mercy, let's step back. Let's go to where this story truly began, earlier that morning. The morning sun had barely risen over the crowded neighborhood where Amara lived. Its faint golden light slipped through the cracks of rusted tin roofs, touching the narrow alleys, the peeling walls, and the people who had grown used to making do with very little. Inside a small, cramped one-room home at the far corner of the settlement, Amara woke before most of the world. The air was cool, carrying the scent of damp earth. She quietly folded her thin blanket and looked over at her mother, who lay on a makeshift bed, a worn-out mattress placed directly on the floor. Her mother's breathing was shallow, weak. Each breath seemed to cost her strength she didn't have. Amara whispered gently, "Mama, I'm up." Her mother tried to smile, but even lifting the corners of her lips seemed painful. "Good morning, my angel." Amara could see the shine of fever on her mother's forehead. She quickly dipped a cloth into a small bowl of water and wiped her mother's face. The cloth was old, frayed at the edges, but she handled it with a tenderness far beyond her age. "Did you sleep at all?" Amara asked softly. Her mother hesitated, then said, "A little." But her trembling fingers told the truth. She had barely slept. In the corner of the room, a small boy, Amara's baby brother, barely 2 years old, shifted restlessly in his sleep, his stomach grumbling. His tiny ribs showed through his skin like fragile lines drawn by hunger. Amara looked at him with worry tightening her chest. They hadn't had a proper meal in almost 2 days. Their cupboards were empty, no rice, no bread, not even leftover scraps. The only thing Amara found the night before was a single small biscuit left in a wrapper someone had thrown away. She had broken it into pieces, pretending it was enough for all three of them. But her brother had cried silently after finishing his share. And her mother, she had given hers to Amara, claiming she wasn't hungry. But Amara had seen the wince on her face as she forced a smile. This was not the first time she'd made such sacrifices. Amara knew every struggle her mother endured, working several cleaning jobs until her health failed, taking on tasks that paid little to nothing, trying to feed 2 children alone after their father disappeared years ago without a word. But today was different. Her mother's illness had reached a point Amara had never seen before. Her mother was sweating, but her body was cold. Her lips were pale. Her voice shook whenever she tried to speak. Amara pressed the cloth to her mother's forehead again. "Mama, we need medicine. You're getting worse." Her mother opened her eyes weakly. "I'll be all right, sweetheart. I just need rest." But they both knew rest wasn't enough. Without medicine, her mother wouldn't last long. Amara looked over at the little wooden box near the edge of the room. It contained coins, tiny amounts her mother saved whenever she could. But when Amara opened it earlier, she found barely enough for a loaf of bread, definitely not enough for medicine. Her throat tightened with fear. She couldn't lose her mother. She couldn't let her brother go hungry again. She needed help. But who would help a girl like her? As if sensing her fear, her mother called her softly, "Amara, come here." Amara knelt beside her. Her mother reached under the thin mattress and pulled out a small, old envelope, worn, yellowish, held together by tape that seemed older than Amara herself. Her mother placed it gently in her daughter's hands. "I've been keeping this for a long time," her mother whispered. "Since the day you were born." Amara stared at it, confused. "What is it?" Her mother swallowed hard, gathering her limited strength. "There was someone who once helped us. Someone who said they wanted to set something aside for you. I never told you because I didn't want to give you false hope." Amara blinked, her heartbeat growing louder in her ears. Her mother continued, "They opened something for you at the bank, a savings account." Amara froze. A savings account for her? Her mother nodded slowly. "I know it sounds impossible, my love. I didn't believe it myself at first, but the papers are there, everything we need." Amara felt her breath catch. "Mama, why didn't you ever use it? Why didn't you tell me?" Her mother gave a sad, gentle smile. "Because it was meant for your future, for your education, for a life better than this. I never wanted to touch it unless we had no other choice." Her eyes filled with tears. "And today we have no other choice." Her mother squeezed Amara's hand with surprising firmness. "Go to the bank. Ask them to show you your balance. Just that. No matter what they say, do not walk away until they do." Amara's lips trembled. "But Mama, I'm scared." Her mother wiped a tear from her cheek with a shaking finger. "Courage isn't about not being scared, my angel. It's about doing what you must despite the fear." Amara's voice cracked. "What if they don't listen to me?" Her mother held her gaze. "Then you keep trying, because this isn't just for you, it's for your brother and for me." Those words settled into Amara's heart like a seed of strength. She nodded slowly. "I'll go." Her mother managed a weak smile. Good girl. Amara packed the envelope carefully into her old cloth bag. She kissed her mother's forehead and covered her with a thin blanket. She gently stroked her baby brother's hair. Then she stood up, her legs shaky, her heart pounding, her stomach empty, but her resolve solid. She stepped outside their home. The alley greeted her with the familiar symphony of poverty, crying infants, shouting neighbors, pots clanking, stray dogs barking. She made her way through the maze of broken pathways, toward the main road where buses roared and dust filled the air. She held her bag tight against her chest. Today was not just another day. Today, everything could change. Everything. And with every step she took toward the bank, the spark of hope in her heart grew stronger, even if fear walked beside it. The long walk from Amara's neighborhood to the heart of the city felt like crossing between two different worlds. The cracked roads, dust clouds, and small street vendors slowly disappeared behind her, replaced by tall buildings with reflective glass, neat sidewalks, and people who moved with purpose, wearing suits and polished shoes. Amara's feet ached, her empty stomach tightened with every step, and the city's noise pressed heavily against her ears. But she kept going, gripping the strap of her cloth bag as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. For a child who had rarely left her neighborhood, everything around her felt intimidating. The buildings seemed too tall, the crowds too loud, and the speed of the world too fast. She felt small, smaller than she already was, but her mother's words echoed in her heart. "Do not walk away until they show you your balance." She whispered it under her breath. "I won't walk away, I won't walk away." Finally, she reached the largest building she had ever seen up close, a gleaming, modern bank with tinted glass doors and a wide stone staircase. People flowed in and out, tapping their cards, checking their watches, talking on their phones. Amara hesitated, her fingers trembled, her throat tightened. But then she breathed in slowly, summoning the thin thread of courage she had been holding on to since morning. She wiped her sweaty palms on her faded dress and climbed the stairs. When she pushed open the glass door, cold air immediately rushed over her, clean, sharp, and artificial. She shivered. The inside of the bank glowed with white lights. Marble floors shined beneath her dusty shoes. People stood in neat lines, dressed in crisp clothing. Screens displayed numbers. Machines beeped. Employees typed, smiled, and greeted customers with rehearsed politeness. But none of that warmth reached Amara. They looked at her, not long enough to care, just long enough to judge. A few whispered, their eyes following her messy hair and worn-out bag. "Where are her parents? Poor thing, probably in the wrong place." But no one approached her. No one offered help. Amara swallowed her fear and stepped into the shortest line she could find, her feet barely reaching the counter's height. She stretched her neck to see the employee behind it, a woman with a bright smile and a neat uniform. For a moment, Amara felt relief. Maybe not everyone here was unkind. But when her turn came and she took a step forward, the woman's smile froze. Her eyes scanned Amara from head to toe, and something in her expression changed, softness replaced by irritation. "Yes," the woman asked flatly. Amara placed her bag on the counter and whispered, I want to see my balance." The woman blinked, confused. "Your what?" Amara cleared her throat nervously. "My balance. My mother, she told me to check it today." The woman's brows furrowed. "Do you even have an account here?" Amara nodded quickly. "Yes, my mother told me." The woman sighed sharply. "Sweetie, you can't open an account without an adult, and you certainly can't have one on your own unless you come with your guardian." Amara felt her heart drop. "But it already exists, my mother said." "Next," the woman called loudly, ignoring her. The man behind Amara stepped forward, brushing her aside as if she were nothing more than an obstacle in his path. Amara stumbled back, stifling a gasp. She looked up at the teller with pleading eyes. "Please, it's important, my mother is sick." The teller didn't even look at her. "Little girl, step aside, we're busy." Amara tried again, voice shaking. "Just 1 minute, please, ma'am, I just need." A firm voice erupted from the side. "What is happening here?" Amara turned. A tall man in a navy blue suit, shiny black shoes, and a badge that read branch manager Gerald Fletcher approached with long, irritated strides. The rude teller pointed at Amara. "She's causing delays." Mr. Fletcher's eyes narrowed at the sight of the little girl. Amara gathered her courage again. "Sir, I just want to see my balance." Mr. Fletcher let out a breathless, mocking laugh. "Your balance," he repeated. "In this bank." Amara nodded, gripping her envelope tighter. The manager stepped closer, his presence towering over her like a shadow. "Little girl, we don't run a welfare office. If your parents sent you to ask for money, tell them this is not how it works." Several customers turned to look. Some chuckled, some shook their heads, but no one said a word. Amara felt her cheeks grow hot. Shame pressed against her chest until it hurt. Still, she whispered, "It's not welfare, my account, it's real. My mother said," he cut her off sharply. "Your mother said," he chuckled cruelly. "Let me guess, she told you the bank has been saving for you? That one day you'd come in and magically find a fortune." Amara's eyes began to blur with tears. But she refused to cry, not here. She lifted the little envelope with trembling hands. "The papers, they're inside." The manager's grin widened. "Fine," he said, snatching the envelope. "Let's see this fortune of yours." He opened it dramatically, fully expecting to find nothing but nonsense. But the moment he saw the slip of paper, his smirk faded slightly. Amara didn't notice, but everyone else did. Mr. Fletcher's confident stance straightened. Stared at the paper for several seconds longer than necessary. Still trying to hold on to his arrogance, he typed the account number into his system, slowly at first, then faster. Each keystroke grew sharper, more frantic. His jaw clenched, his breathing changed. Behind him, the teller leaned forward, confused by his sudden stillness. Amara watched, confused and hopeful. "Sir, is it real?" she whispered. He didn't answer. His eyes remained locked on the screen. The color drained from his face. The number staring back at him was not what he expected, not what anyone would expect for a girl like her. Before he could form a word, a voice from behind the crowd broke the thick tension. A strong, calm voice. "Why are you speaking to her like that?" Everyone turned. A stranger began walking forward. Tall, confident, dressed immaculately, someone who seemed out of place among the ordinary customers. Mr. Fletcher stiffened, recognizing instantly that this person was not one he could easily dismiss. But he had no idea that this stranger was about to expose a truth that would leave him speechless. A truth that would make every bystander regret their silence. A truth that would flip this moment upside down, and for Amara, change her life forever. The stranger's presence was magnetic. A hush fell over the crowded bank. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to dim slightly as they stepped forward. Their suit was flawless, their posture impeccable, yet their eyes, clear, gentle, and full of compassion, softened the entire room in a way Amara didn't expect. For the first time that day, she felt a strange warmth, a flicker of safety. The stranger's gaze met Amara's, and she felt as if someone had reached out and taken her fear into their own hands. "Step away from her," the stranger said firmly, their voice calm but commanding. Mr. Fletcher's smirk faltered, replaced with a frown. He straightened his shoulders and attempted to mask his uncertainty with arrogance. "Excuse me," he barked. "Who are you to tell me what to do?" The stranger did not flinch. They simply took another step forward, glancing at Amara with a kind smile. "I'm someone who does not tolerate cruelty," the stranger said softly. "And you, sir, have humiliated a child in front of everyone here. That stops now." The room remained silent, the crowd leaning forward slightly, sensing that something important was about to happen. The whispers of judgment and expectation mingled with the air, thickening the tension. Amara's heart pounded. Could this person really defend her? Could they really stop the man who had made her feel so small? Mr. Fletcher's voice rose, tinged with irritation. "I don't know who you are, but this girl," the stranger held up a hand. Calm, deliberate, every eye in the bank was on them now. "I know exactly who she is," the stranger said, their tone carrying an authority that made Mr. Fletcher pause mid-sentence. Amara blinked. She did not understand. "And I also know exactly who you are," the stranger continued, stepping closer to the counter. "You are someone who thinks power comes from belittling others, someone who believes a child's poverty is a reason to mock her. That ends today." Mr. Fletcher's face hardened. He attempted a haughty laugh. "And you are." The stranger smiled faintly, the kind of smile that made the air feel lighter and heavier at the same time. "I am the CEO of this bank," they said quietly, yet every word echoed through the hall like a gavel striking the bench. The crowd gasped. Some customers whispered frantically. Some leaned toward the screens to see if this could be true. Mr. Fletcher's face paled and his confident posture wavered. I don't understand," he stammered. "I've been running this branch for years, and yet you have failed," the CEO interrupted gently but firmly. "You have failed this child, you have failed this institution, you have failed yourself." Amara could barely breathe. She watched as the person who had just stepped into her life radiated power without cruelty, kindness without weakness. The CEO turned to her. "And you, Amara," they said softly. "You are not alone. Today, no one will make you feel small again." Tears filled Amara's eyes, but this time they were not from humiliation. They were from hope. I don't understand," Amara whispered. "How do you know my name?" The CEO knelt slightly to meet her eyes. Because I've been waiting for the right time to help you. Someone like you, brave, kind, and strong despite everything, deserves more than this world has offered so far." Mr. Fletcher, still trying to salvage his authority, blurted, "This is absurd." "A child, this is ridiculous." The CEO turned to him, eyes steely now. "Ridiculous," they repeated. "Do you know how many rules, regulations, and promises you have broken by treating her this way?" The bank manager's hands trembled slightly as he realized his position had crumbled. The whispers of the crowd grew louder. The customers now watched intently, sensing the unraveling of his arrogance. "I am her guardian," the CEO said suddenly, the words dropping like stones into the stunned silence. "Not by law, but by choice. She is under my protection, and you have just humiliated someone I have sworn to protect." Amara's jaw dropped, her mind reeled. You mean?" she started. The CEO smiled warmly this time. "Yes, I have taken responsibility for her and her family. You see, Mr. Fletcher, this is not a mistake nor a coincidence. She is under my care, and you have just publicly embarrassed a member of my family. That is not something I will ignore." The murmurs turned into gasps and whispers. Employees and customers alike stared, some with shock, some with admiration. The man who had been so arrogant just moments ago now looked small and powerless in front of the CEO's calm authority. Mr. Fletcher's face turned red. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Finally, he muttered, This isn't—" The CEO raised a hand, silencing him immediately. "Save your excuses. Your actions have consequences." They turned back to Amara, gently taking the envelope from her hands. "Let's see what all the fuss is about, shall we?" Amara watched nervously as the CEO opened the envelope. They scanned the documents quickly, and a soft smile spread across their face. "Indeed," they said, "this is exactly what your mother told you, a savings account faithfully growing for years, enough not just for today's needs, but for the future your family deserves." Her eyes widened, tears now flowing freely. "Really? It's real." The CEO nodded, eyes full of reassurance. "Yes, Amara, real. And from now on, you won't have to worry about hunger, sickness, or being ignored. You've been brave enough to ask for help, and that courage will be rewarded." Amara's small voice trembled. Thank you so much." The CEO gently patted her shoulder. "No, my dear, the world will thank you one day for showing that even the smallest voice matters. And today you have reminded all of us that kindness and courage must never be ignored." The bank manager, meanwhile, sank to his chair, defeated and exposed. Every ounce of arrogance had vanished, leaving only shame and fear. And Amara, she felt for the first time in her life that the weight of the world on her tiny shoulders had lifted, if only slightly. She didn't know yet how much her life would change, but for the first time she believed it could. The bank had never been this quiet. Even the hum of the computers seemed subdued, as if the entire building was holding its breath. Every eye was on Mr. Fletcher, whose face had gone pale. His jaw tightened, his hands shook slightly, and even his once commanding voice had lost all authority. The CEO stood firmly beside Amara, a silent pillar of protection, and addressed the staff in a calm but unwavering tone. "Effective immediately, Mr. Fletcher is suspended pending an investigation. His behavior today was completely unacceptable, unprofessional, discriminatory, and humiliating. We will not tolerate such conduct in this institution." Gasps spread throughout the room. Employees whispered among themselves, some nodding in relief, others glancing nervously at their former manager. Mr. Fletcher attempted to protest, but his voice faltered. "This is outrageous. Save your excuses," the CEO interrupted, eyes sharp. "You have not only embarrassed a child, but also violated ethical standards and the trust of this bank's clients. Legal action will follow if necessary. This is not negotiable." Amara's hands trembled, but the CEO gently took hers in theirs, offering warmth and reassurance. "You see, Amara," they said softly, "the world sometimes rewards the cruel until the moment it cannot ignore them anymore, and today justice found its way." Amara looked up at the CEO, her eyes wide and glistening. "Does this mean he won't ever humiliate you again?" the CEO assured her. "And he won't humiliate anyone else either, not while I have the power to stop it." The CEO turned to the gathered crowd, employees and bystanders. "Let this be a lesson. Arrogance and prejudice have no place here. Every person deserves respect, regardless of age, appearance, or financial status. Let us remember that courage can come in the smallest forms." Even the regular customers who had laughed moments before now looked ashamed. Some whispered apologies among themselves. Amara noticed the shame but didn't dwell on it. Her attention was entirely on the person who had just transformed her world. After the public reprimand of Mr. Fletcher, the CEO guided Amara to a private office. The room smelled faintly of leather and polished wood, a stark contrast to the cramped home she had left behind. "Sit," the CEO said warmly, gesturing to a chair. "We need to talk about more than just today." Amara sank into the chair, her small hands clutching the envelope still, though now it felt different, like a key to a new life. "I don't understand," she whispered. Why are you helping me like this?" The CEO sat across from her, their hands folded calmly. "Because I believe in people like you, brave, kind, and honest. And because your mother entrusted you with responsibility today, knowing that you could carry it with courage." Amara's lips trembled. "But I don't know anything about banks or money or anything like this." "That's all right," the CEO said, smiling gently. "You will learn, and not only about money, but about the world, opportunities, and your potential. Today, we are ensuring you and your family will never go hungry again, never fear sickness without help, and never feel powerless." Amara blinked rapidly, her mind trying to process the enormity of it all. "You mean, really, my family?" "Yes, Amara, your mother, your little brother, and you. I am taking full responsibility for your well-being, education, medical care, housing, all of it. You will have everything you need to grow, learn, and flourish." Tears slipped down her cheeks. I don't know what to say." The CEO leaned forward slightly. "Then say this, that you are ready to work hard to learn and to make your life count. That's all that matters. The rest we'll handle together." Amara nodded, her voice shaky but determined. "I promise I'll do everything I can. I won't waste this." The CEO smiled again. "Good, because today is not just about saving money. Today is about saving hope. And your courage will remind others that even in the darkest moments, there is a light that will find you if you do not give up." Amara took a deep breath and looked down at the envelope. She felt its weight, not heavy but full of possibility. "Thank you," she whispered again, though this time it felt insufficient. "No, my dear," the CEO said gently. Thank you for showing that bravery and kindness can survive even the cruelest hearts. And thank you for reminding me why I do this work, not for power, not for profit, but to change lives like yours." As the CEO guided her out of the office, Amara noticed how the employees and customers now looked at her, not with ridicule, but with admiration. She realized that courage, humility, and truth had a power far greater than she had ever imagined. Outside the bank, Amara took a deep breath of city air. She could almost feel the chains of her old life breaking. She knew that her mother would have medicine soon. She knew her brother would not cry from hunger again. And most importantly, she felt for the first time that she was seen, respected, and protected. The CEO bent down, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "This is only the beginning, Amara. Together we will make sure your family never has to struggle like this again. You've earned this day, and you've earned the life waiting for you beyond it." Amara's tears spilled freely now, but they were tears of relief, joy, and the dawning realization that hope had finally arrived. "Thank you." "For everything," she whispered. The CEO smiled warmly. "No, my dear, this is your journey now, and we're walking it together." Years had passed since that unforgettable day in the bank. The small, timid girl who once stood alone, trembling and humiliated, had transformed into a young woman radiating confidence, grace, and quiet strength. Amara walked down a sunlit street in the same city, but everything around her now felt familiar and welcoming rather than intimidating. The buildings no longer seemed towering and unapproachable. They were markers of her journey, symbols of the life she had worked toward with determination and guidance. Her steps were steady, her posture proud, and the envelope that once held her future, though no longer needed in paper form, remained etched in her memory as the turning point of her life. She arrived at a school campus bustling with students. Bright banners hung from the buildings, and laughter and conversation filled the air. But for Amara, the campus symbolized far more than education. It was freedom, opportunity, and the proof that courage can indeed reshape destiny. A teacher waved at her. "Good morning, Amara. Ready for your scholarship seminar today?" Amara smiled warmly. "Yes, sir. I've been looking forward to it all week." Even as she walked past other students, some glanced at her with curiosity, some with admiration. Unlike before, no one looked down on her. She had become someone they recognized, not for her past, but for the determination, intelligence, and kindness she carried in every word, every action. Later that afternoon, Amara received a message that made her smile even brighter. It was from her mother, now fully recovered, reminding her that dinner was ready at the apartment provided by the CEO, the same person who had stepped into her life years ago and changed it forever. As she entered their home, she found her mother and little brother waiting. Her brother, now a strong, healthy young boy, ran toward her with a hug that spoke more than words ever could. "I missed you," he said, his voice filled with excitement. Amara laughed, hugging him tightly. "I missed you too, and guess what? I learned something amazing today in school. I think I want to be a lawyer so I can protect kids like me when they need help." Her mother's eyes shimmered with pride. "That's my girl. You've always had the heart for it." Amara's gaze drifted toward the living room window, where the skyline glistened with promise. Her life had changed completely, not by luck, but because someone had believed in her courage and dignity. Later that evening, Amara sat with the CEO in their private study, a room filled with books, pictures, and certificates. The CEO had become her mentor, guiding her education, helping her develop life skills, and ensuring her family's stability. "You've grown into an incredible young woman, Amara," the CEO said softly. "I'm proud of everything you've achieved, but remember, it was your courage that started it all. You asked for help when it mattered most, and you refused to back down in the face of cruelty." Amara reached for their hand. "I couldn't have done it without you. You didn't just help me, you helped my entire family. You changed everything for us." The CEO smiled, squeezing her hand gently. "No, Amara. You changed everything by believing in yourself. I only walked beside you. Never forget that a single act of bravery, no matter how small it seems, can ripple outward and create a world of change." The night fell, casting a gentle glow across their apartment. Amara looked at her mother and brother, then back at the CEO. For the first time in her life, she felt truly secure. Her family had not just survived, they had thrived, and she too had grown into the person she was meant to be. Her thoughts wandered briefly to the bank manager who had humiliated her. She remembered his arrogance, his laughter, and the way the world seemed indifferent that day. But she didn't dwell on anger. Instead, she smiled softly, knowing justice had been served, and that cruelty and prejudice would never define her or those she loved again. In that quiet moment, Amara realized the truth she had carried unknowingly for years. Life could be cruel and unjust, but courage, kindness, and hope could turn despair into opportunity, weakness into strength. And as she looked out over the city, she whispered to herself, "One small voice can be heard, one brave heart can change everything, and one act of kindness can save a life." The moral of the story, Amara's journey, reminds us all that humanity transcends race, age, and wealth. Even in the face of cruelty and indifference, courage and dignity have the power to transform lives. A single act of kindness, when paired with justice and compassion, can turn despair into hope and hopelessness into a future filled with opportunity. The little girl who once trembled at a bank counter had become a woman who could face the world with confidence, and her story became a beacon for everyone who had ever felt powerless.